Free agency for Brad Holmes seems to be almost an inside the park grand slam. Now, I'm not just using baseball terms because it's opening day for the Tigers, but it is opening day. Go Tigers. I look at it like an almost inside the park grand salami, which would be a wild feat. In fact, I don't even know if that's ever been done. But what I do know is we were very close to an A grade free agency, according to Brad Holmes. In this presser just the other day, they were asking Brad Holmes about it, basically about free agency in general. And he alluded to the fact that we got everything he wanted except for one thing. What was that one thing? Josh Reynolds. Josh Reynolds actually signing a deal yesterday with the Denver Broncos. I think it's like a 2-year, $14 million deal. So, hey, good for you, Josh Reynolds. Bummer for us because, man, did I love him. Josh Reynolds was absolutely consistent all year long. Ever since he got here, him and Jared Goff had the rapport, right? They worked well together. And he was a great dump-off guy when St. Brown was either double-teamed or not open, Sam Laporta not open. In these moments where Josh Reynolds really came through, you look at his stats, guy was huge for us. Especially, you think about that LA Rams playoff game. Who did we go to time and time again in order to flip the bird to the Rams? It was Josh Reynolds. Definitely going to miss him, what he brought to the team, the fire and the consistency. Obviously, in that game against San Francisco, there were 2 plays in which Reynolds, one of them really was in the breadbasket, in the belly, and can't quite get that out of our minds. However, you listen to Brad Holmes, and he was like, I wanted to re-sign him. We were working with his agents, and we just couldn't get it done. Which blows, because Reynolds was a solid receiver for the Lions in this rebuild. In fact, it was Brad Holmes saying he was one of those guys. He was one of those original guys. I think it was Holmes who said it. It might have been Campbell. He was one of the original guys that they wanted to keep around. And so seeing Reynolds leave is tough. However, listening to Brad Holmes talk about the free agency period and saying otherwise, we knocked it out of the park. Otherwise, we did what we set out to do, and we got the guys we wanted to get. That's DJ Reader. That's Carlton Davis. That's Amik Robertson. And you listen to Holmes, because even he was talking about it, and he's like, I didn't think we were going to get Carlton Davis. We kind of got to a point where I didn't think it was going to happen. And so Amik Robertson coming in was a huge move. And then it works out with Carlton Davis. We got the guys he wanted. Now, I know there's a ton of you out there who sit there, and I see it in my comments, and I see it in other Lions guys' comments, where it's people sit in the camp of Brad Holmes is not good in the free agency period. He's great in the draft. Let's just accept it. And I can see where you're coming from. And then on another side, I disagree, because bringing in guys like Anzalone or Khalif Raymond, like, these are pivotal players to our squad who have made us who we are. So to sit there and be like, he's not good in free agency, I disagree. Is he better in the draft? Yeah, absolutely. 100%. That's where he is who we know he is. But to say he's not good in free agency, I would disagree. Because even bringing C.J. Gardner-Johnson in last year was huge. And then the dude tears his pec week 2 against Seattle. That's not on Holmes. It's not. I don't think that's fair to put on Holmes. Emmanuel Mosley in the ACL. And this is where it gets interesting. We're going to listen to this together, because I know you've got people that are like, he just keeps bringing in hurt guys. Listen to Brad Holmes talk about the injury situation with these players, how he views injured guys coming in. Let's pull this up and roll it.
As of a player's missed time, there's a risk. Now, look, we do the best we can. If there's like major time miss over and over, and then yes, obviously we're going to be rational. We're going to be smart. Like, we're going to be like, okay, all right. It's evident that this guy's he's repeatedly missed season after season, bulks of the season, but the guy misses, some games here and there. Man, it's football, man, and that's why you construct the roster.
That's football, man. That's football, and I love that view of being like. We'll get into it a little bit further here, but That's the entire idea of constructing a roster where you look at it. He's not looking at DJ Reader being like, well, the quad went in December. Let's lay off of him. He's looking at DJ Reader as the 10th best run stopper in the NFL with Ali McNeil at 8th and saying, let's stop the run. And DJ Reader's pass rush is phenomenal. He's not looking at, well, the quad went in December. Let's move off of him and find some guy we don't like as much.
That's my view. And I know that's a big – I know in the past, Dave, you kind of got on me about, not got on me, but you know what I mean? Like, selecting defensive linemen that, had something medically. And it's like, look, man, we don't acquire players and say, man, I can't wait. Man, I'm so glad we got this player, and he's not going to be available. Like, no, that's not what we do. It's the intent is that he is going to be available, and we have a great medical staff. Obviously, you guys all know it's a big overhaul we did recently, but those guys do a really good job.
That's huge in and of itself. It's the intent. It's the intent that Reader will be ready. There was intent that Emmanuel Mosley would be ready. There's the intent that these guys are going to play. It's not like Brad Holmes is going out there being like, all right, well, we'll see him in December. It's, hey, we got a great medical staff. Let's get this guy ready to go by September 8th.
The previous year, or a player missed 0 games. Just because a player missed 0 games the previous year doesn't mean that he's not going to miss any games the following season. So if you're picking between the two, why would you pick the player you're less excited about because, he missed. He didn't miss 3 games last year. You don't really like the player. But you're not excited. But he didn't miss any time. That doesn't guarantee that that's not going to happen. So that's how I look at it.
I love that. I love that that's the view of saying, like, Brad Holmes sees a guy that he loves, and he goes and he gets him. Now, if we were to look at this and be like, well, we don't really love that that's the intent, what about J-Mo? What about Jameson Williams? A guy in the draft who has all of the upside in the world, and we're like, well, he's injured. Teams passed on him because they wanted other guys to be able to start immediately. We looked at it and said, well, we don't need a wide receiver to start right out the gate. We can rehab this guy, get him where he needs to be, and move forward for years to come. J-Mo as a huge weapon that I'm really looking at with Josh Reynolds moving on is probably going to get targeted the bejeebies out of this year. And so if that's the way Brad Holmes is looking at this, heck, man, I'm all for it. I know people look at Carlton Davis and they're like, well, he hasn't played a full season yet. Yeah, no, he hasn't. But the games he's in, he's dynamic. And the intent is, let's get this guy who can absolutely shape this team into what it needs to be, specifically the secondary, where we struggle so vastly. And the way Holmes talks about it here is, look, man, the intent is that they will play. And it's football. Guys are going to get hurt, period. Would you rather get the guy that you absolutely love, who could get hurt? Or would you rather get the guy who you're not that excited about, who could get hurt nonetheless? I don't know. That's just me. But hearing Brad Holmes talk about it was very encouraging. It was very exciting to hear that, hey, man, they set out to get every one of these guys, and they got him. The only one who got away was Josh Reynolds, which is, again, a huge bummer. But hey, man, it is what it is, and that's the nature of it. And Reynolds wanted to get paid, and we were looking to obviously pay less. I'm bummed, but I understand it. In almost inside the park homer, just turns out that there was only one out the whole time. 3 guys scored. Reynolds got thrown out at third. We all kind of sigh. Everybody's smiling. Miggy's probably clapping somewhere in some living room out in Cabo. You know what I'm saying? Riding the jet skis. Balloon Shop. Great YouTube channel that came out maybe in like 06, 07. I was a kid, dude. I was in high school. Dude, that's a hilarious channel. When that came out, Balloon Shop changed everything. And YouTube used to be great. It used to be really something. Now it's just an oversaturated market of people talking like me. But hey, man, I'm just going to roll some D20s. Oh, that's an 18. Add some charisma. I don't know, +1. That's a 19. We'll take it. Feel like a +1 charisma belongs here. My dexterity is less than. We'll go with a -1. That's a 5 -1. That's a 4. So as I attempt to reach up to the camera to stop this, boom, knock the camera over. Orc rolls into the room, kicks me in the head, knocked unconscious. I don't know, man.